Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're talking about the New York Giants 2019 NFL Draft Class based on analytics. And if you're new to the channel and new to the work that I do, all terms and definitions will be in the description. Of all that stuff out of the way, let's get to the first pick of the draft, which of course is Quenton Lane, defensive tackle out of Alabama. When you look at his production data, he had a 99.37 solo tackle production score, 80.72 sack score, and a 92.61 tackle for loss score. Doesn't quite hit all the areas he needs to hit in terms of all-pro potential at the 4-3 D tackle position, but does hit all the areas in terms of Pro Bowl potential, and in general hits all the areas he needs to hit in terms of the Pro Bowl averages at the position. So I think Quenton Lane has a very good shot of becoming, at the very least, a Pro Bowl defensive tackle at the next level. And then, of course, you look at athleticism traits. He had a 79.55 explosion score and a 97.05 speed score. Hits well above what the average explosion and speed score is for an all-pro/Pro Bowl defensive tackle, which again means that he pretty much checks all the boxes there. The only thing he didn't really do is flexibility testing. He didn't do the short shuttle and three cone to really determine his balance for his size, but definitely in terms of explosion, in terms of speed, hit all the areas he needs to hit in terms of that. And I think there's a very good shot that Quenton Lane becomes a multiple Pro Bowl defensive tackle, and also that he's going to be someone who becomes one of the better picks from this draft class. So it was a very, very good pick. Then, of course, you get to the next pick for the Jets, which, of course, is Jachai Polite. When you look at his production data, 81.39 in terms of solo tackle data, 84.87 in terms of sack data, and 89.38 in terms of flexibility testing. Doesn't hit he pretty much hits all the all-pro thresholds at the position, but with the averages, he's more closer to a Pro Bowler than an all-pro player based on the averages. In terms of athleticism, this is the biggest area where he had the biggest misstep, 34.3 in terms of his explosion score and 44.37 in terms of his speed score. Those are not all-pro level or Pro Bowl level, but definitely starter level. And I think Polite, best case scenario, becomes a long-term starting edge. It definitely would be somewhat of an outlier for him to do that, but I do think that he has the production traits to accomplish that. So don't be surprised if Polite goes on to become at least a starter at the level. It is definitely a 50-50 shot. He definitely could be someone who, is out of the NFL in 4 years, or could be someone who becomes a starter. But I do think there's enough here to say that he has a good shot of at least becoming a starter. So that's the main thing I'm going to hang my hat on, is that I would not be surprised if Polite becomes a starter, but I also wouldn't be very surprised if he ends up out of the NFL in 4 years based on his overall data. Then, of course, we get to the next pick of the draft, which, of course, is Chuma Odagba. In terms of athleticism testing, he really didn't do that much. He had a speed score in the 60 area, but there really isn't enough data to really say much about him. So I'm going to kind of table him, but definitely has the speed score indicative of at least a Pro Bowl tackle. So we'll see what happens in the future of him, but he definitely has at least that going for him, that he could be at least a starting tackle or better based on his speed score. And then, of course, you get to the next pick, which, of course, is Chauncey Gardiner Johnson. In terms of his market share data, 90.02 in terms of solo tackle data, 70.30 in terms of pass deflection data. His overall data matches up more with the Pro Bowl averages in terms of pass deflection data, but definitely has very good solo tackle data. And, of course, when you look at athleticism traits, great. 89.45 in terms of explosion testing, 92 in terms of speed score, and then 83 in terms of his flexibility testing. Pretty much hits the all-pro thresholds and Pro Bowl thresholds for the cornerback position, or nickel cornerback position. So basically like a Tyrann Mathieu type. And I think that's how I see Chauncey Gardner Johnson. I'm not going to say he's going to be as good as Tyrann Mathieu, but he definitely has a shot to at least become to that level. And I do think there's a lot of chance that he could be like the next Chris Harris Jr. I mean, he has all the sort of production traits, athleticism traits to be that type of guy. Definitely some things off the field that people have talked about in terms of character stuff. I'm really not going to get into that because I just don't have enough information on that. But in terms of just his production and his athleticism, I think this might be the best sort of pick the Jets have had in this particular draft class, just because of where you got him and how much potential he has based on his overall data. Then, of course, we get to Blake Cashman out of Minnesota. 80.52 in terms of solo tackle data, pretty much hits the Pro Bowl threshold and is within the starter averages in terms of market share data. When you look at athleticism traits, 89.42 in terms of explosiveness, 95.30 in terms of speed, and 95.74 in terms of flexibility for his size. He's pretty much the third most athletic linebacker in this draft class with very good production traits. Has a sort of question mark because he was kind of a one-hit wonder. You know, he only had really 1 year of really good production in his entire career at Minnesota, but definitely has enough on paper to suggest that he could at least become a starter. So this is kind of a bet, but it's a good bet based on where you're betting on him. And then we get to the next pick, which of course is Trayvon West in terms of his production data, 34.64 in terms of market share production. Doesn't hit the all-pro threshold, but does hit at least above the Pro Bowl threshold. When you look at the averages of the position, woefully below what that all-pro average, Pro Bowl average, and starter average is. And when you look at athleticism traits, 73.08 in terms of explosion, 50 in terms of speed, and 72.02 in terms of flexibility for his size. Doesn't hit the all-pro threshold, the averages, or even the starter averages in terms of speed. But I will say this, he does have starter potential. He does have enough athleticism traits to suggest that, but I would say it would be more likely that he disappoints than it's be very unlikely that he overachieves his data. He's more likely just going to be either a starter or he's going to become nothing. And then, of course, we get to the last pick, which is Blessin Austin in terms of his production data at 43.63 in terms of solo tackle data, 96.49 in terms of pass deflection data. Pretty much hits. It doesn't really hit the averages in terms of solo tackle data for all-pro Pro Bowl potential, but definitely hits well above the averages in terms of pass deflection data. And I think that's how you should see him in terms of athleticism traits. 61 in terms of explosiveness, 11.30 in terms of speed for his size, and pretty much it looks more like a starter based on his athleticism traits than an all-pro Pro Bowl player, but still a good pick. I think this is another pick where I think based on production data, there's enough here to warrant a selection in the late 3rd round. But I think it's still decent. I mean, they could have done better, but I think it's decent. So overall, how did the Jets do in the 2019 NFL Draft class? And I would say they did pretty darn well. I think Quenton Williams was a pick that you had to make. I mean, it would either be Quenton Williams or Ed Oliver. Both of them had great data. And I think Quenton Williams is going to be a very, very good player at the next level based on his overall data. I think when you look at Ja'Kai Polite, I think that was a little high for him, but definitely worth it if you think he's going to become a starter, which he does have a chance to become that. The tackle that they drafted is very inconsistent in terms of what he is because the athleticism data is missing, but he does have at least a speed score indicative of a potential starter. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson has a very good shot of becoming easily the 2nd best pick, if not the 1st best pick, just because of where he was drafted based on his production athleticism traits. Blake Cashman has a good chance to become a starter. Trayvon West has a chance to become a starter, more likely to become more of a backup or rotational guy, but still good data. And then, of course, when you look at the Rutgers cornerback, probably going to be more of a special teamer guy, but definitely has a shot to potentially become a starter as well if he hits the system really well. Overall, though, good draft class. I like the Jets class. There definitely are areas to improve. But in terms of the picks that they came out with, I mean, usually what a class is judged by is how many great high-impact players you take in that class. And I think this class in particular has 2 of those guys. I think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson has a good chance to be a really high-impact cornerback/safety. And then, of course, when you look at Quenton Williams, great player as well. Blake Cashman gets added to the mix. So overall, the Jets defense is going to be legit, really good, if these picks hit the way that the data suggests that they'll hit. So I think at the very least, the Jets are going to have a really great defense. It's just their offense that I think still needs to catch up to their defense. And of course, my name is James Coburn. You can find my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know. Hit that notification bell in case you want to be reminded when another video of mine drops, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.